Hannah Briggs, had never feared the wilderness until now. The sun sank behind the jagged cliffs of Broken Arrow Canyon, painting the desert in bruised purple shadows. As she studied her worn map, none of the markers lined up. The bend in the river was wrong. The ridge she expected should have been north, not west. Somewhere in her hours of charting new territory, she'd taken one wrong turn, then another. A cool wind swept across the canyon floor, carrying the distant cry of a hawk, and reminding her just how isolated she was. She tugged her coat tighter and climbed a boulder, scanning the endless sprawl of mesas, cliffs, and dry washes. Nothing but wilderness in every direction. Her horse Clementine stamped nervously. "It's all right, girl," Hannah murmured, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Just as she prepared to descend, a sharp crack echoed through the canyon. A branch snapped footsteps, not from her horse. She froze, her hand drifting toward her small pistol. A figure emerged from the shadows, broad-shouldered, dust-covered, wearing a battered hat pulled low. He moved like someone who belonged out here, someone the canyon itself had shaped. "No need for that iron," he said, voice low and steady. "You're lost. I can see it from 50 paces. Hannah exhaled slowly. "And who might you be?" "Name's Bob Carter," he replied. "Live up the canyon." She raised an eyebrow. "All alone?" He smirked, slightly. "That's the way I like it." But his eyes, blue like twilight on a cold river, held something else. Curiosity, concern, maybe even recognition. Like he'd seen a spirit wandering where it shouldn't be. "I'm Hannah Briggs," she said, "mapmaker. I'm charting new routes for settlers, moving west." Bob looked over the horizon. "Not the kind of place you should be riding alone. Broken Arrow Canyon swallows people whole." A gust of wind sent dust swirling around them. Bob reached for Clementine's reins. "Storm's coming. My cabin ain't far. You can wait it out." Hannah hesitated. Following strangers wasn't her way. But the darkening sky, the unfamiliar terrain, the steady confidence in Bob's voice. "All right," she said finally. "Lead the way." Bob nodded, turning toward a narrow path carved between towering red stone. Hannah followed, unaware that this moment the meeting of two wandering souls would change both their lives under the rising canyon moon. Bob Carter lived as quietly as the deer that stepped through the sage at dawn. For years he'd kept to himself, drifting between canyons and cliffs with only his horse, Rusty, and memories he never spoke of. Folks in the nearest town whispered about the canyon hermit, the cowboy who'd traded people for peace. Bob liked it that way. But all that changed the moment he brought Hannah Briggs into his small cabin tucked between the canyon walls. She stepped inside, brushing dust from her sleeves, eyes sparkling with curiosity rather than fear. "You built all this alone?" she asked. "And you like it that way?" His jaw tightened. Most days, outside, thunder rumbled. Rain tumbled down the canyon walls like silver threads. Hannah walked to the window, watching the storm roll in with admiration. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Bob huffed a quiet laugh. "Depends who you ask. Storms are trouble for most, but not for you." Bob met her gaze, then steady, quiet, searching. "Storms don't scare me. People do." Silence settled between them, heavy but strangely warm. Hannah didn't pry. Instead, she pulled out her map case. "Mind if I work while we wait?" He watched as she spread her drawings across the table, meticulous sketches of terrain, valleys, water sources. She traced each line with focus and passion he wasn't expecting. "You really love this," he said. She smiled. "Maps help people find their way. I guess that matters to me." Bob turned toward the fire, his expression unreadable. "Some folks don't want to be found." "Maybe not," she said gently, "but sometimes being found is what saves them." Bob's grip on his coffee cup tightened. Hannah's words sank deeper than she knew. Outside, lightning split the sky. Inside, something shifted, quiet, fragile, undeniable. For the first time in years, Bob Carter felt the canyon open and let someone in. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving the canyon washed clean in soft gold light. Hannah stepped outside, breathing in the crisp desert air. Bob was already saddling, rusty movements, efficient and silent. "I need to take you back to familiar ground," he said. "You shouldn't lose another day out here." But something in Hannah resisted the idea of leaving. She wasn't done learning about this quiet cowboy, whose silence said more than most men's speeches. "Before we go," she said, "could you show me the ridgelines north of your cabin? They're not on any map." Bob hesitated. "They're not meant to be. If they should have." He studied her determination in her posture, warmth in her eyes. She wasn't afraid of him, or the canyon. Not of anything, it seemed. Bob exhaled. "Fine, but stay close." They rode out, weaving between red stone pillars that rose like ancient guardians. The air carried the scent of wet earth, fresh and sharp. Hannah sketched rough outlines as they climbed. Suddenly Rusty stopped, ears twitching. Bob tensed. "Someone's here." From behind a cluster of rocks, 3 men stepped out, rough-looking, unshaven, carrying rifles slung carelessly, but ready. "Well, I'll be damned," the leader sneered. "Thought you were dead, Carter." Hannah stiffened. Bob's voice turned cold. "I left you fools behind for a reason." The man grinned. "You owe us, and we're here to collect." Hannah's heart raced. Bob moved subtly in front of her. "What do you want?" she asked. The leader's eyes narrowed at her map. "He knows a way through the canyon. No one else does." "We need it," Bob growled. "You're not dragging me into your trouble." One man aimed his rifle. Hannah gasped. Bob grabbed her wrist, pulling her behind him. "We ain't leaving without you," the leader snapped. "Dead or alive." Bob's eyes darkened. "You'll get neither." Before the man could fire, lightning fast, Bob kicked sand upward, startling the horses. In the chaos, he grabbed Hannah, swinging her onto Rusty. "Hold on," he yelled. They sped away as gunfire cracked behind them, bullets ricocheting off stone. Hannah clung to him, heart pounding. "Bob, who were they?" His jaw clenched. "My past, and it's catching up." They didn't stop until the canyon swallowed them in shadow. Trouble was coming, and Hannah wasn't sure Bob could outrun it alone. Bob led Hannah deep into a hidden side canyon he rarely visited. Towering cliffs rose above them like cathedral walls, and a small pool of moonlit water shimmered in the quiet. "We'll camp here tonight," he said, voice lower than usual. "They won't find us." Hannah watched him gather wood for a fire. His shoulders were tight, his movements sharper. The gunman had rattled him more than he let on. When the fire crackled to life, she finally asked Bob, "Why did those men say you owed them?" He didn't answer right away. He stared into the flames. "I used to ride with them before I came here." Hannah's breath caught. "A gang." Bob nodded once. "Did things I ain't proud of. Things I left behind when I realized the canyon was quieter than my conscience." She moved closer. "And you think you deserve to wander alone forever because of that?" His eyes lifted to hers, vulnerable, in a way she hadn't seen. "Hannah, I don't deserve much of anything." She shook her head gently. "Everyone deserves a second chance. Even stubborn cowboys hiding in canyons." He huffed a broken laugh. "You're something else." The moon rose higher, spilling silver light across the red stone walls. Hannah touched his arm, warm beneath her fingertips. "Bob, you saved my life. Twice now." He swallowed hard. "Didn't want anything to happen to you." "Why?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at her the way men look at water in the desert, like he'd found something he didn't believe existed anymore. Hannah's voice softened. "Bob, it's okay." He leaned in slow, hesitant, unsure. She met him halfway. Their lips brushed beneath the canyon moon. A kiss soft as desert wind and deep as the night sky. Bob pulled back, breath unsteady. "I shouldn't." "You should," she whispered. He closed his eyes, letting his forehead rest against hers. "You're pulling me back into the world. I don't know if I can survive it." "You won't have to," Hannah said. "Not alone." The moon glowed bright above them, casting their shadows together on the canyon floor to souls who had wandered long and far, but somehow found each other beneath the endless western sky. By sunrise, The canyon was quiet, but Bob knew the peace wouldn't last. The gang would come looking, and they'd come armed. He saddled Rusty, while Hannah packed her maps. "You can't stay out here," he said. "It's too dangerous." "Then, come with me," she replied. Bob froze. The canyon wind whistled softly through the rocks. "Hannah, I don't belong in towns." She stepped toward him. "Maybe you don't have to. Travel with me. Help me map the territories. You know these lands better than anyone." He looked away. "And risk dragging you into my trouble." She smiled sadly. "Bob, trouble found me the moment I got lost. And I'm not afraid, not if you're with me." Before he could answer, hoofbeats echoed through the canyon. Dust rose from the ridge. The gang was back. Bob grabbed her hand. "This ends now." They climbed to a higher ledge overlooking the canyon. Bob positioned his rifle. Hannah crouched beside him, steady and alert. The leader shouted from below, "Carter, come down and face us." Bob's voice rang strong. "I'm done with you." Gunfire erupted. Bob returned fire, using the rocks as cover. Hannah pointed out angles, ridgelines, escape points, her knowledge, combining with his instinct in perfect harmony. A bullet struck the gang's horses, sending them scattering. Another ricochet forced the men into retreat. Within minutes, the canyon fell silent again. The outlaws fled, wounded pride trailing behind them. Bob lowered his gun, chest heaving. Hannah touched his arm gently. "It's over, for now," he said, though fear no longer shadowed his eyes. She took his hand. "Bob, choose a future. Yours, ours." He looked at her, the woman who had wandered into his canyon and somehow mapped a path straight into his heart. Finally, he smiled. "A real one. Guess the world's got more to offer than I thought." Hannah laughed softly. "Come with me." He squeezed her hand. "Wherever you go, mapmaker, I'll follow." They rode side by side out of Broken Arrow Canyon, the morning sun warm on their backs, and the promise of new trails ahead. New lands, new love, a future drawn together. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.